I'm John Gogliettino.
I am Rachin Kansal.
I'm Bobo Potzner.
I'm Risa Minikin.
And I'm Doris Hanley. Welcome to 30 Minutes.
Welcome to 30 Minutes. This is John Gogliettino, and I'm your host. We're interviewing candidates for office here in the city of Danbury. Today we're talking specifically to the zoning people, and we've got an incumbent, Jennifer O'Neill. Then we've got a couple of people that are running for the office, Henry Hall and Sidney Nazaro. So without further ado, we're going to have them come on, and then we're going to have them tell us a little bit about themselves and why they're running on zoning or why they're serving on zoning. So without further ado, let's bring them on. And let's start with Jennifer, because Jennifer's the incumbent, and that means she's running again. And tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're doing this, why you're running for the zoning.
Okay, thanks, John. Well, I got asked to run for zoning 2 years ago, and I was a little surprised to get asked, but it was such an honor to be able to do it. And I grew up in Danbury. I went to Danbury Public Schools. I currently have a business in Danbury. I do real estate appraisal, residential appraisal. And so the zoning is a little related to that because I have to look at zoning uses in town for work and look at highest and best use of houses. And running for zoning has just been so interesting. I feel like I've learned so much in the past 2 years, and Danbury is going through a lot of changes right now. We have a new planning director, and we're making changes and looking kind of at the highest and best use. Like, what do we have in Danbury and what do we need in Danbury? And it's an opportunity because we have a new planning director, because we're looking at things a little differently. And it's just been, I feel like I've just learned a real lot. And I'm so grateful that I have had the opportunity to do zoning for 2 years. And I'm really excited about running again.
Hey, very good. Now, Henry, because you've run a few times and you've been active in the community in a number of different ways. So tell us a little bit about yourself, why you're running for zoning, and you can talk about the value of zoning, a little bit.
Okay. I'm Henry Hall. I'm a retired programmer. I've worked for Fortune 500 companies, as well as a couple of fairly local companies, Guideposts, and actually over the border in Brewster as well at Putnam Precision back in the 80s. I've lived in Danbury since about 1981. My children all went to public schools here. I became active in the community about 15 years ago after my kids were born. And I want to serve a community that's done so well by my family. It's very easy. And zoning gives me the opportunity to have an impact on the future of the city. I mean, we need responsible, sustainable growth, keeps our city vibrant and livable. And we have to have a community-first approach to the land use. And we've got housing problems, so we have to support housing that fits Danbury's needs and make sure that the public is always part of the process. You have to be transparent and community-driven. A person once told me that zoning you can only do wrong. So the only solution is to make sure that the process is transparent.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Sidney.
All right. So I want to start just by mentioning that I'm actually also an incumbent. Jennifer's not the only one. I'm currently.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
No worries. No worries. So I am running again. And the reason why I had decided to run initially is because of the fact that I'm a real estate agent. And I was a real estate agent full time for about 3 years in the greater Danbury area. And part of that experience involved just working with people who already lived in Danbury who were looking to buy their first home. And when I saw how difficult it was for young couples from Danbury or from outside the city to come in here and purchase a single family home or even an apartment, I was pretty alarmed. And I had some clients that were literally living in, these are people that qualified for mortgages, had steady jobs, had good income, good credit, and they were living in their parents' basement or a spare room in their parents' house or in some other relative's house because they couldn't find a suitable housing. There just wasn't enough inventory. And, I started voicing my concerns to people I knew in local government. And a friend of mine who's the state representative, Farley Santos, mentioned that, I should run for zoning because of my knowledge base and the level of concern I have for this issue. So, based on that, I decided to run, and it's been an amazing experience. And, my overall view on things in the city of Danbury as a whole, Danbury is the urban center of northern Fairfield County. And as the urban center in the region, we serve several very important needs to the greater region at large. One of them is to provide diversity in housing options, right? So local companies may be recruiting young people out of college to come move here to come work for their company. And when those people come, they're not necessarily looking for large single family houses. They may want a 1-bedroom apartment or a 2-bedroom apartment. And as the urban center of northern Fairfield County, we should be the place where people can come and find different housing options other than single family homes. And so, all of these things require zoning changes. And, that's where we come in, where we can look at these scenarios and responsibly and ethically say, hey, this scenario is right for a zoning change, and we need to approve this because it's the right thing to do for the city. And so that's where I think we add, a tremendous amount of value is in those scenarios where, we need a zoning change so we can add a few apartment units to a certain part of the city. And it's been, I've learned a lot since I've come on, and I've learned how important this work is to make sure that the city can grow responsibly and sustainably, as Henry said. And so I'm looking for another term so I can continue this work and continue to make this contribution to this town. My wife's family's been here since the 70s. I'm a New York City transplant, which means I love Danbury even more because I was able to get out of the city and come live in this beautiful, beautiful place. And, I call it home now. And, I would really love the opportunity to serve another term and continue the work we've been doing.
Okay, very good. Now, I think it was Jennifer that brought up the fact we have a new planning director. Anybody can answer this question. I'm not going to specifically direct it to one or another. Have there been any new presentations by the planning director that would require some kind of change, or how is it an advantage having a new planning director? Are there things in the works? Let's put it this way.
I'd be happy to start that. We just had a meeting last night, and he's constantly looking at every aspect of the town. He is out meeting people, he's out meeting businesses, and it's a completely different atmosphere than when I started. I think we were just in sort of a status quo. It was fine, everything was good, but just having a new set of eyes on everything. He's looking at our regulations. We're making regulation changes as we've already made some. There's more in the plan, and they're looking at the entire area, and they're looking at, we did graphs last night. If anyone wants to watch the zoning meeting, they're available online. If you go to the town hall website, you can look at any of the meetings, they're public. And he's showing the increased population that we're expecting. And he's looking at, one of the big things that we're looking at right now are design aspects, so that that's not something that was clearly stated or made well in the previous regulations. And so we're going to plan on setting some design levels so that when things get built, they meet current expectations of what people are looking for in housing and the modern look that people are looking for housing. And it's some of the questions that came up last night at the meeting were from existing members, like, well, what about the people who already have places in like maybe Main Street and our main corridor that don't look good? You know, what about those? But I think we had a really good discussion, and everyone on the zoning gets along really well, which is another plus about being on a panel like that, where we're making decisions and we always feel like we're working together. But it's sort of a thing. It's a long-term thing, but like as we have several new projects that are pending to go up, and if we have these design regulations in, and Waleed is the planning director. He's very good about not just using words, he's using pictures to show what we expect to look like as a town, the direction that we want to move in, so that when the builders and the homeowners come, they'll be able to have a visual and see what kind of things, you know, we want for our town and how we want to upgrade our town. He's looking at the residential space. I know in the chart that we had last night, like 70% of Danbury is the single family residential. So it leaves very little for multifamily, might only be 6%. And then industrial was 7% and commercial was 8%. Like the percentages, he's looking closely at the percentages and what we need and what makes a city function. So it's been really, really exciting.
Right. So it keeps our unemployment down if we have some industry, obviously, that some of the area towns don't have. And we do have our section of town where you have, there's a question in here. There's a section of town here where we've got 650,000 to $1 million homes being built. But I think there might be a need where you don't have that extreme, you know, that's actually extreme compared to the populations that have been here for years, and may have kids that want to come out, but there's no place for them to go, you know, so then they think of going to another community somewhere, you know, and maybe end up on the other side of New York State or something, because there isn't an affordable housing situation.
Right.
Would you say that that's what you, Sidney, do you want to pick this one up?
Sure
Do you
thing,
think that might be an emphasis of what you're trying to do? Is maybe go more in that direction so that it's not extremes, you know, single family houses.
We look at everything. Yeah, we look at everything on the situational basis, right? So one at a time, right? We look closely at all of these scenarios, and we recently voted to approve a zoning change that would allow an old abandoned hotel to be converted to apartment units. And so what we do there is we try to look at you know, obviously highest and best use in the context of where the town is right now. And at the moment, commercial real estate is in less demand because of the changing work environment. And so that's left us with quite a few abandoned commercial and industrial property. So part of what we do is looking at you know, whether or not a change is the right thing for each individual property there. And a lot of times this is driven by the owner. So the owners of the property may come to us and say, hey, I have this property that was a hotel or an old factory. It's in the middle of a residential area. I don't think I want to rent this out or put another business there. I think the best use for this is residential. And they'll apply for a change, and we'll do the analysis. We'll look around at the neighborhood and see what the potential impact would be. And we'll vote yes or no based on our findings. And we carefully consider the impact on the surrounding communities. And, you know, obviously, if we're in an area where there are some larger homes of higher value, you know, that could potentially impact our decision, you know, based on what the neighbors would consider. And so we look at all these factors, and we make a decision based on the needs of the town and also the impact on the surrounding area. So Yes, there is mathematically, there's no doubt that there is a need for more diversity in housing options in our region as a whole, and especially in the city of Danbury. So we obviously consider that, but we don't have a blanket policy where we're just, hey, anything that's available, we're turning it into, we're turning it into apartment houses. That's not how we operate. We look carefully at it, and we look at the impact and where it's appropriate and where it makes sense. We could potentially approve something like that. So it's kind of how we do it.
And the need is definitely there because of
100%.
the extreme. It's extreme to somebody that's just coming out of college that may have lived here all their lives that just doesn't have any options.
Right.
They have to move away. If and a lot of parents are pained by that their kids can't locate. So it's not like, hey, we want to go all residential. There's demand for that segment, right? Henry, would you have anything to say about that?
Well, I have to agree with what's been said so far. We definitely have a need for additional housing and affordable housing, not just for students or young people, but for seniors as well. And we have to balance all this development with preserving the character and infrastructure capacity of the town. So
Right.
It's not an easy job. Zoning is not easy.
No.
Henry's right. If I could touch on that, a lot of there's major consideration around infrastructure. As the population in Danbury continues to increase, obviously it does put a strain on our infrastructure. And so that has to be taken into consideration. Like, we have to grow at the right pace where our infrastructure can support it. And so we take all of this into account when we make these decisions. And, we try to gradually push for responsible growth where the infrastructure can support it. And then where gradually we can, as budgets allow, we can continue to provide the infrastructure needed to support the growing population.
Yeah, you're talking mainly the roads. Roads and then
And
the
schools,
bridges.
and schools
Yeah.
as well.
And then schools as well. We got the new high school, but you can easily outgrow if you go too fast.
Yeah,
what you already
absolutely.
have. Any major issues coming up that I guess aside from the new planning director, and maybe another question would be is who generally comes to zoning? Is it something's being proposed for a borderline situation, or if this area is a residential 100%, then there's not a question there unless they want to change the zone for that
Right.
section. But is it usually where there's a borderline situation that they want to maybe take some away from a commercial or industrial section?
A lot of times, business owners and property owners will come to us when their proposed project does not align exactly with the definition of the type of business they're going to put there, right? So one particular property might be zoned, have a certain type of commercial zoning applied to it, and the characteristics of this business may not exactly meet those requirements. So that business owner or property owner can then come and submit a petition to then have the zoning regulations changed to allow the specific type of business they have to exist there under the law. So that's a lot of what we see. And, we look at the regulations, we look at the potential impact of the zoning change, and we make the decision if this is the best thing for the community. And then we vote based on that.
Now, is there any continuing education that you go through? When I was on EIC, we used to have, a mandatory continuing education type of thing for commissioners that were on that commission. Jennifer?
Yeah, we do have classes that they require us to take, and they incorporate them into some of the things that we're doing already. and we, and there's bias class, and then there's, other things that we need to know to be an effective part of the zoning commission. So definitely they're trying to educate us and keep us up to date so that we can make the best decisions for the town.
Yeah, haven't seen anything formal, but we learn a lot in every meeting. I can tell you that we have new scenarios thrown at us on a regular basis, and through the director and through all the information that's provided to us, I think I learned something new in every meeting, and so yeah, we're always learning new things and getting better.
And it helps having leadership that's been,
Established.
seasoned, to say the least.
Yeah. Like there,
Teddy
2 years. Yeah. 2 years ago, there was probably a bigger turnover of members in the board. So there were a lot of people who, and it's been so crucial to have Republican and Democrat, and of course our commissioner, like, who all have been there, who have more experience with things. And you need that constantly in any organization. You constantly need new people to keep learning and keep things moving forward. And you need the people who have been there who say, oh, we already tried that didn't work, or that's a good idea, let's see what direction it goes in. And that's been a good mix on the board also.
Just for those people that might be confused out there, and that is, what's the difference between zoning and zoning board of appeal? In other words, you make a decision and you can appeal it or no. How does that work in general? Anybody? Nobody. Okay.
It's actually really confusing. Like if you were to go on town hall, like you have your zoning commission where we look at the regulations of the town, zoning board of there's the building department, there's the zoning department, there's zoning officers in the zoning department, and they're like the day-to-day people at City Hall who make decisions about things, and then they work with the planning department to make sure everything is going the way it's supposed to is. Usually, if you're appealing a zoning thing, that's a separate thing. I don't know. It's confusing even for us because there's so many categories that are similar, and you're not sure what department is doing. You can go to a department and think you're in the right department, and really it's people over here who handle that particular thing.
It's sort of
John,
like
I haven't been privy to any appeals yet, so I believe that's handled by a different department.
Yeah. Okay. But I think that's how it is that somebody, if it's a borderline situation, that's how it gets appealed, and that's generally what they do.
Or if somebody's not happy with the decision that the zoning commission makes, they likely can take it to town hall and appeal the decision. But that's that's not something I've been involved in.
I guess the zoning commission is elected by the people, but there's also another zoning, like maybe 3 people who are
that's the board. That's
assigned. They're assigned their position. They're not elected, and they make decisions on different things.
Yeah, when they're borderline, it goes to this appeals, and it's usually people that have been, in real estate or what have you, and it's a borderline situation. It's like an appeals court. It's already been tried, and the people have spoken, but because it's borderline,
it can also be something regular, kind of mundane, like I want a larger sign out in front of my business that's not allowed by zoning. Can you please give me an exception?
Right. I see. Yeah, that's
true. So it can run the gamut from minor stuff to very big stuff.
Now, before we get into another issue and wipe out our time, because time is getting close, maybe Sidney, if you could give your contact information, if somebody watching this program wants to pursue additional questions, they want to talk to you or Jennifer or whatever, let's give our contact information, the telephone number and email that they can send you a question.
Sure thing. So my email is sidneynaz7@gmail.com. So it's my first name and the first 3 letters of my last name and the number 7. So SIDNEYNAZ 7. at gmail.com. Phone number is 347-387-5633.
Okay. Let's go to Jennifer next.
So if you wanted to email me, you could email me at Jennifer_O'Neill@iCloud.com. Jennifer, JENNIFER, O'Neill, ONEILL. You could also reach out to me at my work number, which is 203-778-9781. And I'd be happy to have any questions or anything about the way things work or questions about your neighborhood. That's what all the people on the board are here for, is to help the people of the town and to move the town forward in a positive way.
And Henry.
My phone number is 203-788-3369. And my email address is hhhall1954@gmail. That's HHHALL1954@gmail.com.
Okay, well, we got 2 minutes, maybe general statements. We may have already said all these things, but maybe like a summary as to which probably repeating some things, but people leave the room and come back in. So
Right.
Maybe with Jen this time, start off and in general, this is what I believe. Go ahead.
I just want to let people know that zoning may sound boring to a lot of people, that the meetings are open. You guys can come and watch meetings at any point or go back if there's a topic that interested you. But it's really been an important and exciting thing that I've gotten to be able to be a part of and to see how the town develops and to meet more people in the town and to work with people in the town for what we all as a group agree is the best way. It's just been a really exciting and interesting thing to do.
All right. Thank you. Sidney?
I would say get involved. Local politics is critical. And, I would encourage everyone in the town to attend meetings. If you're inclined, run for office, get involved in local politics, speak up. And everyone can make a contribution at the local level. It's where your day-to-day life is impacted, and I just don't think there's enough people involved in local politics. So I would encourage everyone to get involved. That's it.
Okay, and come out the meetings if they don't want to get involved. At least come out to the meetings so
Right.
you know what's going on. Go ahead, Henry.
Okay.
You got 30 seconds.
Okay. Everything Sidney said is great. Everything Jennifer said is great. But we really need to balance development with neighborhood character. We need to protect wetlands. We need to protect open space and our long-term quality of life. So that's what zoning should be worried about and what zoning should be concentrating on, as well as following the long-term plan for the city.
Right. Okay. I want to thank you all for coming on the show. And I want to thank the viewers for tuning in to 30 minutes. We'll see you next week. Same time, same station.
All right.
Good night.